Hello, I'm Jacob, one of the hosts of The Loyal Left. And really quickly before we start, we wanted to recognize that in this episode, we take for granted the idea that Trump is a fascist, but we understand it may be unclear to some of you as to why. So we plan on going into why this is in a later video. But in the meantime, if you're curious, there's a great video by Leeja Miller that's linked in the description that explains why, in our personal opinions, Donald Trump is a fascist. With that, we can start the episode.
Welcome back to the Loyal Left. First off, we have a lot more episodes coming. The first of which is going to be where we talked to some girls from Marlboro High School, some of the student leadership there, and did a comparing and contrasting of how Loyola has been in comparison to how Marlboro has been in their time and our time at both. But this episode is going to be basically what the title is. Trump's term, Trump 2.0 in a year's summary, a year's review, and basically America's turn to fascism. So what do we want to start off with first? I think, honestly, we're filming this actually on February 4th. So it's been, in the month of January, we had Renee Good and Alex Pretti both die in what were essentially state-sanctioned murders of two innocent people.
We've had the continued invasion of American cities. They tried to go into Maine. They pulled out once they realized that was bad politics.
Yeah.
They have taken children from schools, used them as bait in front of their parents.
Right.
They have set up detention centers that don't even meet the bare standards of what a human, what humans should live in.
Not to mention that they don't pass like safety requirements or anything.
Right.
Like, and not only is it inhumane, but it's also illegal.
Refuse to allow Democratic Congress people to tour these facilities.
Sure.
And are only slightly unpopular in the polls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's gaining more and more consensus that this like isn't okay. It's like, I don't know, some people are like calling it like what woke 2.0 is coming back, where celebrities are feeling pressured, especially at the Grammys, to say something. And sure, like some people can call it performative or other stuff like that, but I think it's starting to show that like it can't be ignored, like the material things that Trump is doing that is harming people, and it's just inhumane. And I don't know, like we're starting to see a very much turn of people realizing that like this isn't okay. I mean, did you guys hear the Ted Cruz audio where did you hear about this?
No, not yet.
Yeah, Ted Cruz was arguing in a leaked audio with Trump, saying that like he's going to lose voters. He can't keep doing this. This is insane. Like something's got to change. And I mean,
And
I don't know.
He's not wrong. In Texas, there was a special election, which in an area that Trump won by 17 points. Democrats won it by nearly 14, 10 in a special election. It's a ginormous swing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize other people's political opinions. I think there's like a myth. I think it's been proven too that the idea of the moderate candidate being someone who's like in between Democrat and Republican, when in actuality it's people who are looking for improvements on their lives, like the things that Trump was promising, right? I want my life to be more affordable. I want a safer country. I want a peaceful existence. But they're able to see with their own two eyes, like, these aren't killers, these aren't murderers. What's the statistic? Like 92% of the people that are being taken off the streets aren't criminals. I mean, that's
in
insane.
any way. Yeah. And I think that like we really need to be reminded of like the campaign promise. Like this was to get rid of rapists on the streets, supposedly. Right. This went to get rid of like killers, like actual, like what we'd like to think of as like inherently evil people.
Right.
But I think that besides the fact that that's such a hard thing to act out politically, I think that like the way it's been acted out is the way that it was always intended to. I mean, I think that the problem with the Trump with Trump's campaign was that so many people voted for the things that he promised without understanding that the methods that he promised had nothing to do with reaching those end goals.
Right.
Because they're not even law enforcement. They're a militia. They're like running cars off the road and pulling guns on activists and invading schools to take out children.
Drivers.
Yeah. Like a real danger to public safety in itself.
Yeah, you think about someone like Alex Pretti. For those who don't know, he was the man in Minnesota, right? Who was He had a firearm, but like he was allowed to be, and he saw a woman getting like pushed to the ground and beaten by these people in masks, and it was ICE. And he, as like a person should, wanted to go help her and asked if she was okay. And he didn't think that it was a good thing for this random woman to be pushed to the ground and being targeted by ICE.
By mass vigilantes. Because I think that one thing you have to recognize is that it's very difficult to identify an ICE agent when they have masks covering their face. They're not required to show badges or anything of that sort. So what is stopping a random guy on the street who wants to beat people of color up from putting on a mask and joining the crowd?
That's the thing, is like, these people aren't killers, these aren't murderers, these aren't dangerous people. What is the necessity for ICE to be so, like, to be masked, to have guns, to have all this stuff? They're not. I think that's like a main point of the propaganda Trump is trying to push. Like, when you have vigilantes on the street with all this body gear and the guns and the vans, and it's so many of them, like, they can pretend they're taking away someone harmful. But if they're just attacking a random woman, and Alex Pretti wants to stop that from happening, and he doesn't take his gun out, he doesn't do anything. Like, they said that he was
all he did was exercise his Second Amendment right to bear arms.
Yeah, it's not like he had the gun out. He was like threatening ICE with it. He just had it on his person, and then ICE kills him. It's indefensible.
Robin, we took multiple videos, verified them, and then went frame by frame. And we have now a fuller picture of what occurred over just minutes when an initially non-violent encounter turned deadly and became yet another flashpoint in the nation's vigorous debate over immigration enforcement, the use of lethal force, and accountability. At least 3 minutes before Alex Pretti was shot and killed, he is seen at 8:58 a.m. Saturday holding his phone at a distance from immigration enforcement officers in an apparent attempt to record a nearby arrest. An eyewitness captured this video of Pretti filming the arrest. At no point does he appear to display a weapon. A minute later, Pretti appears to be using his phone to record two bystanders interacting with a federal officer before that officer is seen shoving one of them across the street.
Do not push them into the traffic!
Another camera angle shows the officer shove one of those individuals into Pretti. You can see the two holding on to each other. The confrontation escalates. Both of Pretti's hands are visible. One holds the phone, the other he held up seemingly to protect himself from pepper spray.
Whoa!
Pretti is seen being pepper sprayed. 3 officers grapple with him until he's taken down and held on the frozen pavement. Another group of officers then surrounds him. At 9:01, the federal officer in a gray jacket emerges from the scrum with a gun that appears to match the one Pretti had a permit to carry. Almost simultaneously, the first shot is fired. Officers step back. Within 5 seconds, 9 more shots, and soon after, the officer is heard. Pretti died at the scene. Now, almost immediately, the Trump administration declared the shooting justified. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said Pretti assaulted officers and intended to kill law enforcement. That's despite an eyewitness account filed under oath, Robin, contradicting the secretary's version.
And our own eyes seeing it for ourselves as well.
And before any investigation.
Right. What are the guidelines for deadly force, using deadly force?
The Department of Homeland Security does have its own policy saying a federal officer should only use deadly force when there's a reasonable belief of an imminent threat and should stop firing once that threat is neutralized. Even gripping or displaying a firearm is not enough, according to the DHS policy, to invoke.
Like, I don't understand what, like, I think I do understand the thinking of Trump is to have ICE be a public thing, right? I can go into Minnesota that has only like 100,000 undocumented people, opposed to like Texas, which has 2 million, to make a public showing that these vigilantes are needed for some reason to take children off the street for whatever reason.
And there you
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say that they he's also making the point that they have the authority to do whatever. Didn't he say that ICE agents can act with immunity? Like they have the authority to like kidnap people off the streets, like anywhere, anytime. There's a video of them pepper spraying a driver, like quite literally in the middle of doing something, and what the ICE agent did that endangers like other citizens on the road, right? Like, I mean, you can't drive when you're pepper sprayed. So yeah, I think that a lot of it is to like legitimize ICE by testing it out in these areas where there aren't as many undocumented people and there aren't as many communities built around that. He's showing like this is what they can do, this is what they will do.
Right. Which, sorry, but I think the big issue that so many people, like I'm seeing with so many people that are still trying to defend ICE. I don't know, maybe you're watching as well and you're thinking, well, they're breaking the law, this and that. Everyone seems to be like defaulting to like, you shouldn't be in the way of people who have authority, but like they keep on defaulting to people in positions of power. Think back to like Nazi Germany. It's these same people who are like, yeah, I mean, you just have to follow the law. Just don't get in the way of the law. You need to trust the authority because they know what they're doing. Like, how could someone get elected without wanting a harmful agenda on the people? Like, think about this and like think about challenging what it is you're being told, because everyone just wants to.
Yeah, on the same note, like segregation was the law, but just so obviously nowadays that's seen as that's understood as immoral.
Right.
And I think that
Jim Crow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the ICE defenses that like, oh well, they're breaking the law, whatever. I mean, so what if there are inhumane laws? As a person caring about other people, I don't really care what laws they break if they haven't done anything wrong.
Which is why Alex Pretti enforced himself in the situation to stop them from
quite literally.
And the scary thing is they have been able to shift their tactics to become an intimidation force on the activists. So the thing I wanted to talk about was the face scanning, the facial recognition that they've been initiating. When they are stopping activists who are following them or obstructing their path or like simply protesting, they have been detaining them and scanning their face. And there have been a number of recordings of these ICE agents talking about A, the face scan, B, the identification that's going to take place, and C, some so-called database.
Yeah,
and
the registry.
There's a registry, and what's scary is that I recently read an article about somebody explaining that 3 days after their face was scanned, they received an email saying that their TSA PreCheck and global entry passes had both been revoked because they had been labeled as a domestic terrorist. Or actually, there was no reason, right? But they had been told that was what was going to happen to them.
Right.
And so now they're leveraging the power of the federal governments, the power of the power that the Trump administration holds, in order to discourage and push down on peaceful protesters, on people who are simply exercising their First Amendment rights and who are not happy with this system that is clearly just here to target black and brown people, not even to support American law enforcement and public safety.
Yeah. I mean, I think I saw something recently that said like the significant majority of Americans were against ICE raids. And I think that for the people who aren't against them at this point, like what benefit does it bring you?
Right.
Like I think that with what we're seeing right now, all it brings is like despair and destruction. Like I don't see a material benefit for anyone involved or not.
Right. I mean, like we said, it's not anyone that is harmful to the country. These are people who have been living here for years. I mean, you haven't even noticed, right? I mean, or if you have, they're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're people within Los Angeles. And like, if you wanted to say like, well, still rule of law, why don't we like go about making different laws that does this, doesn't do this, but goes for a different solution in a more humane way, like more legal pathways to citizenship. I don't know if you guys like even, I know Jacob knows because we went on the Keto Border Initiative with each other, and we went and we saw like how difficult it was to come into this country.
Pre-Trump.
This was
during the Biden administration.
During the Biden
administration. Incredibly difficult.
To come into this country legally, to apply for asylum when you're fleeing your country and you're fleeing violence. It was so difficult to come into this country, not in any sense that like, oh, it's just like they're trying to screen for people who are criminals. No, like if you can't afford it, then you can't come in.
Yeah, many people who were escaping their home country because of like extreme poverty, like they couldn't afford to live where they were anymore,
right?
And they would have starved to death or died because of other poverty-related reasons. They want to come into the United States because it's the land of opportunity, and there's like work opportunities and things of that. So they come into the country, but you need a lawyer to do a large majority of the immigration process. And if you are leaving your country because you can't afford to live there, I mean, what makes anyone think that you'll be able to afford a lawyer for upwards of 10 years sometimes. The process is extremely long.
You can't afford a lawyer, or you got your money taken by cartels or other violent people in your country. And the thing is, like, you could go through the immigration process without a lawyer. You're just not going to get into the country. It's just so much more likely that you're not going to get into the country. Like, there's studies, though, like we saw, and I'll put it up on the screen, about like the likelihood about getting into this country with the same conditions, with the same judges in the same area. But if you have a lawyer, it's an insane amount percentage higher that you'll get into the country, which is like rich people are allowed to get into the country and poor people are getting ignored.
And the other issue with these ICE tactics is that they haven't differentiated between people who have been coming in through legal pathways and through illegal pathways. They're continuing to detain people who have gone through this process, who are currently in the country awaiting for their trials. In fact, they've actually gone to immigration courts and targeted people who are coming out of those trials because they
trying to follow the legal pathway. Like they're targeting people who are doing their best to follow the law that they were supposedly enforcing. Those are the people they're punishing.
And to everybody who says, then just come in the country legally, they're really trying, but they're still being targeted.
Right.
And that's the difference in between like fair immigration enforcement and this dystopian state we're living in.
So yeah, I visited like an Arizona courthouse over the summer. What they were telling me was like they're targeting people outside of courtrooms, but they're also pressuring judges to drop the cases instantly, to pause the cases, to drop the cases, so that ICE can just take them off the street. Like, these people have cases, they have reasons to be here. It's like they want to get asylum, but Trump is saying like, just drop the cases, do everything you can to just get them out of the country. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. But like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't you want a more humane solution to fixing all this? Why don't we give undocumented people workers' rights, legalizing them, giving them a pathway to citizenship, and allowing them to be in the country? Like, if they're not harming anyone, if they're not doing anything illegal, if they're not hurting anyone, which they aren't, why are people so against just having a legal pathway?
Well, I think to one point is that the unfortunate reality is that there are people who benefit from undocumented migration. Like, one thing that you mentioned about like workers' rights, undocumented migrants obviously cannot have workers' rights that are enforced by law because they can't register themselves as workers the same way that U.S. citizens can. Because of that, they're able to be exploited for extremely cheap labor, cents a day in some cases. And
billionaires benefit from all of the undocumented labor that they can exploit. These people who can't have access. Thankfully, in California, there are some laws to protect workers, but they benefit from having undocumented workers just working in the fields and doing all this, which is why finding a legal pathway to citizenship is so much more detrimental, because then you have legal citizens who can demand for legal rights. But I don't know. It seems like the position that people are more and more like able to see visibly, just because it's visible now. But I don't know. I've always been a supporter of the idea that we need to abolish ICE, of going in this direction, that we have to abolish ICE, because truthfully, they aren't necessary. This is like a paperwork issue about people shouldn't be allowed to come into the country. Like, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
Would you be in favor of keeping CBP, or would you want to abolish the whole process?
Like, what do you mean? Like people at like the border?
At the border.
Yeah, I think people have a misconception. Like, when I say like, don't fund the wall, it means that like funding the wall, whether you want to fund to build it more or build it higher, it doesn't work either way. Like, both Democrats and Republicans like to fund the wall. Obama does it. Like, Democrats often do it more than Republicans do, because it sounds like you're doing something, but the statistics show that it doesn't do anything. So like, take the wall, leave the wall, whatever. If you allow people to come into the country legally, you give an easier legal pathway to citizenship, then they're going to come in legally. You're going to have less undocumented people de facto, because
of course, because those undocumented migrants are coming in legally, so they're now documented.
Nobody wants to be undocumented.
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense. But instead you have Democrats allowing ICE to be funded even more.
Well, so they passed what, a 2-week bill to continue funding DHS.
Yeah.
And they have made a series of demands. They have asked. Well, the first one they received, it was no body. It was body cams. Kristi Noem, I believe 2 days ago, said yes, body cams. Now the question is, will those be turned on? Will people care about the videos that come out of those? And so there were more demands that are still to be made, that have been made. And the question is, will Democrats choose to fund ICE in the next 2 weeks, while this level of immigration enforcement and racial profiling and targeting still exists in our American cities? And to be honest, I think it just has to be no. Like, I think that people need to call on their Democratic Congress people to come out and say, we're not going to fund this project as long as it does not represent the interests. If as long as interests represent like what humane enforcement looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a video that explained how kind of like ICE and like documentation works. Essentially, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're not at all by law required to carry documentation with you. If you're not a citizen, but you are going through the legal pathway, you are. So nothing is stopping an ICE agent from stopping a person of color on the street, accusing them of being undocumented when they're exercising their legal right as a citizen to not carry documentation and send them to a detention center.
Right.
So I feel like so foundationally, there's a problem with the way that ICE functions.
Yeah.
That I think that the only logical conclusion is to abolish it rather than continue funding it and asking for reforms.
Yeah.
Because the system that it's basically found on is so flawed.
Right. I mean, you're going to have Democrats and Republicans arguing back and forth. We should have body cams, no masks, this and that. But on a structural foundation, ICE needs to be abolished because it's like these are issues that Democrats love to get in the way of, like, I don't know, like meeting the demands of the people, which I'm pretty sure are the fact that they don't like ICE at all. Like, screw body cams, screw whatever. Like, you're going to have investigations after you've killed someone. Like,
yeah, come on.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about, like, I guess the way that people, the most popular form of deportations is what Republicans campaigned on, and it was that they should target people who have been convicted of crimes, violent criminals. Would you be supportive of a system in which somebody, once they are like convicted of a violent crime, if they were undocumented, they're deported from this country?
I mean, from what I understand,
successful.
that was how it happened beforehand, one. But two, like, I mean, if you're someone who believes in the prison system as it exists, which I don't, I don't know. I feel like more people are supportive of that because, or would it be in support of that? Because, like, I mean, if you're an American who likes the prison system as it is, wouldn't you want to make sure that, like, these people are being punished before they go back to their country, I guess? Like,
So you want them to serve time and then be deported?
I mean, I don't. I think...
Yeah, I think another thing is that, I mean, and we'll definitely get into this in a later episode.
Sure.
When we do, I think that it would make sense to
The
cover
prison
the
system? Yeah, I agree.
as its own episode. But there is a significant cost for yourself as an American citizen, tax-wise, on keeping people in prison. And like executions as well. I mean, this will all be elaborated on in the in the prison episode, but I think that one thing to consider is just it's not free to like punish these criminals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, murderers, rapists who are in the country and undocumented at the already low level that they exist, sure, deport them, I guess.
Yeah, statistically, such a small percentage of people who commit those violent crimes are undocumented in the first place. And I think that, like, while it is a case that does exist and should be considered, I think that with everything that's going on with immigration in the United States, I think that it, just with how often it appears statistically, it should be dealt with far later than, like, how big of an issue it is definitely being made now.
I mean, I didn't even think, like, the way Trump is exporting people to El Salvador. That's even, like, more terrifying, like, situation where people are getting, like, Kristi Noem. I remember reading something that was talking about, like, the inhumane, like, torture that was going on in these El Salvadorian prisons, and it isn't like the right of the U.S. to just export people. I don't even know if they were like undocumented, if that was a crime, if that was like the only crime that like these undocumented people were going through. I don't know, but regardless, Trump hasn't fulfilled his promise, and that was to make, I don't know, the country safer.
Yeah.
Single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve.
What it was like, make the country safer.
I don't think anyone feels safe at all. I mean, like even in like predominantly white areas. I think that just the existence of secret police, people who can run around, kidnap, beat up, people with immunity, kill even. I mean, like we've seen people of all races killed by ICE. I think that like I don't think anyone feels safer than they did before.
Trump ran on two promises. The first, because he was basically unpopular in almost every territory except for these two. The first was to, quote unquote, secure the border. And the second was to lower costs.
Right.
So we can shift to the cost part because he hasn't done that either.
No, I mean, he was like basically the justification for the like deporting all these people was that they was going to fix the cost, right? These people are like taking up all your resources and they're taking your jobs.
Which should not to be true.
Which is also should not to be true. But I mean, what has he done so far to like lower costs? Well, I mean, he kept saying day one, I'm going to lower the cost of groceries. There's a video that I'll put on the screen.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one because people can't afford their groceries. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to bring prices way down. It'll also bring your grocery bill way down. And we'll get it done fast. And they're going to be affording their groceries very soon.
But day one, I'm pretty sure he was like, well, you can't expect me to do all that.
No, quite immediately after. I mean, we'll have both clips playing. But
we're going to have an economy the likes of which nobody's ever seen before.
But in a lengthy interview with the magazine, Trump, who made curbing inflation a cornerstone of his campaign, conceded it may be difficult to lower grocery prices. He explained it's hard to bring things down once they're up. It's very hard.
Well, so the first major economic policies instituted has been tariffs. These have universally been a failure. They have been based on his ego, his emotions. He put tariffs on one of our European allies because he found their leader annoying. Like that's not how economic sanctions really like work. And they've been costing the Americans.
It's definitely not also like how decisions that benefit an entire country are made. I think that's another thing is that it's very easy to talk about Trump as like an annoying guy, or like a guy doing things, but I think that part of it is also like he's like every decision that he makes, unfortunately, affects all of us, the majority of people watching this video, and beyond that, because I mean, like the U.S. is kind of like the global hegemon. So in reality, the majority of the world, most people who live are affected by this. And I think that is one thing just to like pay attention to is that unfortunately we're all like beholden to like whatever his whims.
Yale's budget lab has estimated that tariff costs are going to cost American households $1,700 a year, which is not what anybody voted for. To increase their household costs. That was literally the only reason most people voted for him.
Yeah, exactly. Even those who are like, oh, his economic, or I mean, oh, his immigration policy isn't the best, but I think that I just want everything to be cheaper. The Republican Party is the party of economics. That's a commonly recited thing. But like, unfortunately, if you look, that has almost never been shown to be the case ever since like Reagan.
Right. Well, I mean,
barely then.
Yeah.
Or should do an episode on how Reagan was a monster too, but
that one's coming for sure.
That one's gonna come. Don't worry. Tariffs. Like I remember being in a push class talking to kids who very clearly don't understand what tariffs are. On both sides. Well, both sides, Democrats, liberals, and Republicans. But these kids were like saying like, tariffs are unilaterally always bad because they do X, Y, and Z. And then you have other people who are like, well, tariffs do whatever Trump says, so therefore they're going to help me economics wise. But tariffs can be used to help different American regions like very tariffs can be used in a good way. I think when you have in a world that's as globalized as we are right now, well, I mean, for a fact, you can't tariff everything from a country.
Yeah, blanket tariffs are kind of like when we have like 100 and however many trading partners, you can't blanketly tariff everyone. I think
just like
quite like very intuitively you understand that as not something.
We just don't make things in America. Okay, so a tariff is a tax on other countries. So basically, it means like, yeah, things are more expensive now, but the American thing is cheaper. So therefore, you should buy the American thing. That's like what a tariff incentivizes. But there are some things that we just like don't make in America. Yeah, we don't make them in America. Like we can put a list, whatever. But that's why tariffs unilaterally don't work. You can tariff certain industries to allow like American jobs are a good thing.
And another thing, like there are things that we don't make in America, but that goes beyond consumer products.
Right.
So unfortunately, to make a consumer product made in America, you need machinery and packaging and like everything that goes into making a product.
Right.
And those things are so specialized that like there's no way in the United States all of that can be produced.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, even the prices of American-made goods are better because to produce the things that you buy that were 100% made in America requires the use of products that were made outside of the United States.
Yeah. The thing that's shocking to me is we are a full year in, a year and a half worth of tariffs rhetoric, nearly like 500 declarations of who's being tariffed and who's not.
Yeah.
And there are still poll numbers out there that a significant portion of Americans do not understand how tariffs work, how people pay the prices, or even what it means for a tariff to exist. It's not a tax on the person who's making it. It's not a tax on foreign countries. It simply just increases the price of the product, which is 92% of the time paid by the American consumer.
I can give one personal example, though obviously not on as big of a scale, but I hope that, you know, some of the viewers will resonate with this. Like I buy a lot of secondhand clothes, and unfortunately, if I want a specific piece, I'll have to be shipped in from another country.
Right. Yeah.
So if the seller, which usually they know not to, but if the seller does put the full value of the piece on the tariff form, I have to pay a huge percentage in addition when the package arrives.
Right.
Like the mailman will come and not give me my package until I hand him cash. I'm so serious. And like though again, not a huge like not a huge deal, but representative of what's going on.
Yeah.
The price of the things I bought from other countries, personally, like just me, has gone up so much, and like I can literally see it as like a separate charge, or like I have to give out more money after already paying full price for whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think tariffs in some situations, like American globalization and exploitation of what like is called the global south. I'll put it on like the screen if you aren't aware, but in some situations like allows for America to not be so exploitative on other countries for so many different things. But like at a certain point you can't just like do everything, because you're just hurting Americans. You're just hurting the people that voted for you, because they're like, these conditions suck, like I don't like Biden, this and this. All they can understand is like rent's too high.
Yeah. And this is a guy who promises to change that. And I don't like, as Ethan pointed out, the majority of Americans don't understand how that tariffs work. So it totally makes sense that a lot of people saw, hey, life sucks right now under Biden. Trump is promising to change things, and I don't understand the things that he's saying will change them, so might as well vote. You know what I mean?
And let's talk about housing for a second, because well, first off, there's the homelessness epidemic that has swept many nations across the country, especially here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the Center for American Progress is saying, you know, these tariffs and economic policies are driving up the cost to produce a house and to build more housing by nearly $20,000, which has just perpetuated that problem even further. I mean, they've killed grocery prices; those have all been driven up. Many things that come abroad have been tariffed, and for some reason now we're prioritizing Argentinian beef instead of American producers. None of the policies have been built to support the American consumer or even American producers and businesses. All they have done to do is support Donald Trump's friends who own major corporations who have certain economic interests, which are being fulfilled via these destructive policies.
Yeah. I mean, it's that same sort of default to power, right? Like just trust in these laws that were made to maybe help Americans, maybe not, but they were clearly not. Default to President Trump, who, and I think like it should be a clear difference. It's not that he's just like an insane, like he's just out of his mind and we just have like someone who is just
Like one person who's like ruining the country.
sure. It's like, or like one person is ruining the country, or he's just like making poor decisions, but he's trying to help Americans. No,
Yeah.
it's because he benefits from this sort of thing. He benefits from Americans being like needing to pay more. His billionaire friends.
I was going to say exactly that. I think it's important to distinguish when we say that Donald Trump benefits from these things. We don't mean Donald Trump as in like that one guy. We mean Donald Trump, the billionaire, the like venture capital, like everything that the class that Donald Trump is a part of.
Right.
Very much represents the type of people he's around, and you can see that in the decisions because so many of them, like you said, help his oil executive friends or whatever other like CEOs have like brush shoulders with him. That's who he is working for. It's not for the average American.
I mean, you can see it in
the tax. I think that the first and most obvious example was the tax policy.
Yeah,
he raised taxes for every class or for every bracket except the top two.
Right. So he did that, and then he does something like cutting healthcare for people who can't afford it. Things like, it was Medicaid, right?
Yeah.
Cutting Medicaid, which was projected to kill how many people because people aren't getting their healthcare. Like these people that he's not allowing to like get healthcare, he's cutting the Medicaid subsidies for. It results in people no longer being able to go to the hospital. Or like, here's one thing about like healthcare. It's not that like people aren't getting health care right now. They get health, like if you break your arm, you're just, it's not like you're not going to go to the doctor. No, you break your arm and then you have to pay an insane amount of money to go to the hospital and get it fixed. But now you're in like life crippling debt. Or if you're like a single family household who's so in like poverty and now you're getting your Medicaid subsidies cut, like you have to choose between either paying that insane amount of money or not. Suffering, like there's no other option. You're giving these people no other option, and it's these people he promised to like fix for. I guarantee you there were so many Midwesterners who were like they voted for him, like I voted for you, and now I'm getting my Medicaid subsidies cut. I don't know what that means. Oh, it means I can't get my prescription.
I mean, yeah. Let's talk about the big surprise this presidency, because we always knew he would do tariffs.
Sure.
We always knew he would do ICE.
Yeah.
What we did not know he would do, and in fact what he campaigned against the opposite of doing, was invading 3 other countries.
Right.
President of peace, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He has very openly kidnapped the president of Venezuela. And then instead of doing the thing that probably would have actually received a lot of support within the U.S. and instituting a democratic government that's going to get rid of the political violence that has existed in that country, that is getting rid of the suppression, he just reinstated a puppet leader in order to export the oil out of that country.
And I also think that, like, regardless of, I mean, first of all, I think that is something that, though unfortunately, though it was a surprise, unfortunately, it falls very much in line with U.S. involvement in Latin America.
Right.
Like getting rid of a leader and replacing them with a puppet leader to
Pinochet
have the access to oil is nowhere near abnormal for the United States, unfortunately.
Right.
But I think another thing that a lot of people don't consider, there's a lot of conversation of like, oh, Maduro was this, Maduro was that. And I think that regardless of whatever your stance on Maduro was, I think the thing that we're all kind of like brushing over is the fact that since when has the president of one country kidnapped the president of another because of anything, right? Like, in what world is it the United States president's responsibility to kidnap the president of another sovereign?
Exactly. Like even Ethan, like the whole like instating a democratic person in government, like we do that all the time, still doesn't work because we're like upending a country and only doing it so that it aids America in whatever way and just destroy those countries. But like I was talking with people like in my AP Gov class, it's a pretty open open like conversations about some like current events and stuff. And sometimes it's cool, sometimes it gets a little bit heated, but like the specific one was like, it was before Maduro was like actually taken. And it was in December, and people were like, yeah, I think Trump should invade Venezuela. And someone openly was like, yeah, because of oil, because the US could use that oil. And I'm like, all right, I guarantee you there's someone in Russia, like however many years ago in 2022, that was thinking the exact same thing about Ukraine. Like, yeah, no, let's invade Ukraine. Let's do it because it helps Russia. Let's invade Venezuela because it helps the United States. This isn't how like the country should be operating. You understand, like, if it was, the entire nation would be just the entire world would just be destroyed if this was how we operated and made this.
So it was like, I have a bigger military than you, and you have something I want. So I'm invading.
It's totally destroyed America's standing in the world as well, which is pretty important for A, all the America First people, but B, even for the sake of national security. It has damaged our relationships with NATO allies. It has decreased the legitimacy of the American-led international order, whether you support that or not. And we saw Mark Carney go on stage in Davos and tell everyone that the middle powers are going to unite and get over this rupture that America has created. And honestly, it's even created a path for other countries to take over that world order. Which, whether or not you support American exceptionalism, American imperialism, Russia or China governing the world would not be better for human rights than it is now.
I'll say this, is people are turning to China. I mean, China's had a non-interventionist sort of like way of moving.
If you want to, I think that there's like, I think that, I'm sure a lot of the viewership will be familiar with like the memes going around like, oh, you met me at a very Chinese time in my life right now. Like there's a lot of that going around.
I Show Speed doing it.
Yeah, and I show Speed in China. Yeah, but I do think that it reflects kind of like a real shift. Like I don't think it's a surprise that this happened during the Trump administration. I think that there are there's a real interest from the youth into alternative, obviously with Trump it's such like a stark difference, but with like a different approach to global policy, to like socialist government, I think that there is a lot to be said there. And I think that China is a very interesting and broad topic that we should talk about in depth in another episode.
One thing I did want to say was like when TikTok was banned, a lot of people
turned to Xiaohong Shu.
They turned to Red Note, and what they were discovering is like they were talking to Chinese people for the first time ever.
And without the firewall. That's great to bring up.
Chinese people were making fun of Americans. They were like, oh, we thought it was like just jokes or something.
A lot of people said like, we thought it was propaganda, the things you're telling us. You have to pay for an ambulance. We thought that was propaganda.
Because it sounds so ridiculous. It sounds just like American propaganda about how they say like, I don't know, like
the social credit system. Like, I mean, talking about China or like the facial recognition.
Sure, there's that, or like America trying to say like, I don't know, what Kim Jong-un forces everyone to have the same haircut. Or something. Like, there's a lot of like, I mean, does it really shock anyone? Like, if you took video of America and like people who are unhoused and are starving and are poor, and like people who are unhoused taking drugs in the street because there's no support.
The streets of San Francisco are not what many people would imagine what many people would imagine the global hegemon to look like.
Like, this country isn't taking care of its people. So the youth are looking to other points, like a country that has free housing, a country that doesn't force people to pay to like go to the hospital or stuff like that. I mean, think about like Luigi Mangione. People were like making memes. Like weren't
signs. I remember one was La Virgen de Guadalupe with his face like superimposed.
And I think that openness to a new sort of policy that favors people, that is not totally ingrained in a capitalist system which is just exploiting people, has begun to take shape. I mean, there's the obvious example of Iran, right? But we have a Seattle mayor now who's another self-proclaimed socialist. The representative from this district, this council district.
Yeah, you said she's a
Los
socialist
Angeles.
and
Yeah,
she's an abolitionist.
yeah.
There's someone running for governor, Ramsey Robinson.
Ramsey Robinson and Oliver Ma running for lieutenant governor, I believe,
Right.
of California.
And they're outspoken. They're like, so on the basis of going forward, like what in America we would want going forward, I think we have to understand, one, it's not over when Trump leaves office. It's not over when Democrats get into the House or the Senate. However it is, like, just because Democrats are in the Senate or in their House, like, that's not going to fix everything. Even if we had a Senate, House, President, all Democrats, it's not going to fix anything, because time and time again, like, they're proving, even with this ICE thing, even with them folding on the U.S. shutdown, them folding and not getting anything back in return, it goes to show that, like, something needs to happen in order for them, for Americans to actually be prioritized.
And to explain really quickly, why we say that about Trump and the Democrats, you know, like, unfortunately, we're not just making this up. The reality is that the large majority of donors to the Republican Party are also donors to the Democrat Party, and politicians follow the money. Quite, like, it's their job, so they want money, and they're gonna do whoever pays them the most does. Tells them to.
Right.
Which is why, unfortunately, Democrats don't fix the problems. Trump and Republicans might exacerbate them, but Democrats, because of their donors, don't peel any of it back. They kind of just, at best, don't make it worse, which as we've seen in recent Democratic presidencies, who have deported more people than Republican presidencies, that isn't always even the case.
And they always continue to push further and further to the right. They continue to compromise. They continue to push further to the right, and that doesn't work. Like, because they think they can appeal to this fake moderate that somehow exists, but people follow what they need as well. And that's, like, the whole, what Zohran ran on. Zohran Mamdani in New York, who was a outspoken democratic socialist, who ran his entire campaign on being for the people of New York and being someone who was going to have affordability was the buzzword.
Yeah.
And he lived up to it. But my fear is that we're going to get a bunch of Zohran copycats who think the reason they won was because he was just going around the streets of New York and calling them everything, like, affordable. It's affordable this, it's affordable that. We have a bunch of people who are now on social media, but that's not what it is. Like, it isn't just a buzzword. It is doing something to actually help the people.
Yeah. I remember Israel texted me about this, like, worrying that Democrats would start, like, defaulting to, Zoran won and use the word affordability, so let's start doing that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like right either before or after or that same day when I got that text, I was at a restaurant and they had a TV on, and I saw a Democratic politician sitting in, like, a warehouse, and as he was talking, the words affordability flashed in huge letters on the screen, and there were cuts to like, blue collar workers.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. And I looked the guy up. I forget his name right now, and his policies were nothing even close to Zoran's.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that, you know, unfortunately we now have to be vigilant of, is, like, the co-opting, like, the problem is that because the Democrats are supported by these same billionaire donors, what they do is they want to take the aesthetics of Zoran, kind of like you see a lot of politicians now using, like, short form content that's kind of, like, more personal and more, like, Gen Z coded, so to speak. But the policies aren't matching. It's all, like, the stylistic things. They're trying to make you think, oh, this guy looks like Zoran, this guy talks like Zoran, so he must be like Zoran.
Right.
And so hopefully he'll win.
I think a takeaway from that for the viewers is, like, on what you may perceive to be both sides, as in Democrats and Republicans, be aware of the propaganda, right? Ask questions like, why is ICE so violent when they don't need to be? Is there a point to ICE? What does affordability mean when anyone can just say it now, right? Are these policies going to help me as an individual? Is Trump helping me as an individual? Is he helping other people? And I don't know, like, going forward, we need something to change, and it can't be the same structure that we've just been relying on and relying on and relying on to fix everything.
Yeah, very unfortunately, with like the way electoral politics are now, it's more important than ever to be educated and understand what things actually mean, what's said versus what's actually done, what policy actually means.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, there's so many, not to say lies, but like just misleading information about, like, that's how campaigns work now.
Could say lies.
People saying things to create images and create thoughts in your head that might be completely disconnected from whatever it is they actually plan on doing, because that's how elections are won. You vote for the people you like, not the people you know the most.
You could even say lies, I would say. You can even say, like, Trump lied when he said he would fix the affordability. He hasn't. He isn't. He doesn't.
And quite literally, his plan, like the things he proposed to fix affordability, would not do that.
Right.
So there's also an aspect of him knowing that it wouldn't be possible in the first place.
Yeah. I think
that's a wrap for today.
Yeah. I think what we really wanted to do was just give a perspective on the three different aspects of where Trump said he would be the president to vote for, and what the majority of people, the first Republican in a while to win the popular vote. Get educated.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Loyal Left. I'm Ethan Demper.
I'm Jacob Friedman.
I'm Israel Ramirez.
Look out for our episode with Marlboro coming up later next week. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.